Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to the Den of the Drink. Other dragons hoard gold, while I hoard internet cringe. By the very nature of the game, things in D&D don't always go your way. And that's kind of the point. It's a game of chance. And if everything was just given to you for free, then there'd be no reward for the exceptional. It would basically be the adult make-believe version of communism. Oh wait, that's just communism. Well, at least my DMing hasn't ended with anyone being sent to a gulag. Yet. Yeah, while I do understand why there needs to be failure in D&D, the random nature of it can really feel like a kick in the teeth. Especially when the results don't feel that random. Failing again and again is a great way to make you feel like the entire world is against you. But what if I told you it very well could be? That's right, even if you keep failing, D&D is a game designed to be enjoyed with friends. But what happens when the people at your table turn out to be not your friends? You sure as shit aren't gonna be enjoying yourself, that's for sure. The story I have for you today stars a player who is invited to a Star Wars campaign by someone they thought was their friend, only to realize it's a trap! Sorry, I had to get that in there. Only to realize that it's all a trap, and the entire group is ready to subject OP to a transformation from a self-respecting nerd to abused punching bag. Now, without any further delay, let's go ahead and dive right into the horrifying world of r/RPG-Horror-Stories. Enjoy. This week's story comes from Reddit user Damien St. James and is titled "Players Repeatedly Incapacitate My PC." Then the DM blue bolts the character for being so hated/useless in his eyes. Context: I was a player in a group that was running a D20 Star Wars themed game. This took place in 2012. TLDR at the bottom. Through a friend of mine within an already established gaming group, I was invited to join in on their brand new campaign. One of the novel concepts were that all of us were going to be playing a different anthropomorphic character. A furry/scaly, more or less. Some chose a Trandoshan, while I chose an established fox race called an Amaran. They're like goblins from World of Warcraft mixed with the Ferengi from Star Trek. I played a one-eyed, one-armed cyborg Amaran based off my long-established character Damien. In this setting, Damien showed promise within the Empire when a group of Imperial Scout troopers saw him dazzling locals with an exhibition of long-distance marksman training. The lead trooper challenged Damien to a contest to see who could outshoot the other. If the trooper won, Damien would have to submit to slavery. If Damien won, then the trooper, on his honor no less, would put in a suggestion that he receive Imperial Scout training. Well, Damien kicked butt, and the trooper held his word. He was then taken to the Imperial base on World and trained. He excelled. Unknown to him, he was being groomed to use his knowledge of his homeworld to hunt down and eliminate leaders of his own people, in the name of the Empire, of course. When this became clear, Damien shot and killed the squad that he was partnered with, and went on the run. This was the circumstance of his joining the group. Damien is contacted by Joho the Hutt. The Hutt had heard tales of Damien's defiance of the Empire, and skill with a sniper rifle. He was offered a chance to join his cartel and turn to a life of high-risk, high-reward crime. This would allow him to build a reputation and eventually kick the Empire off his home world for good. The catch being, well, he's a Hutt. Damien took the offer and arrived at Joho's palace. He was escorted by a rather dodgy Rodian and disarmed. This is where Damien is stood before the Hutt. Joho said that in all his years of criminal enterprise, that reputation does not always equal actual skill. Word on my talents were good and reliable, but I'd have to prove it. He told me to kill that Rodian before he kills me. The Rodian drew his blaster and felt that I was a goner. Well, neither knew that I had paid for an onboard vibro knife on my cyberarm, one that they missed. I flicked the thing out and in a couple rounds killed the Rodian. Good riddance. Before I could gloat, numerous stealthed guards bombarded Damien with stun blasts and stunned him out cold. As he drifted unconscious, Joho laughed and said,
Welcome to the cartel.
Enter the rest of the group. The following game session, where everyone else had a very similar jumping in scenario, we all woke up inside of a holding cell reinforced with ray shields. Damien saw a large group of fellow aliens, and all of us had been undressed to our undergarments. Joho was smart and removed Damien's cyber arm. It was detachable, so no real harm done. One alien's description, and let's call him Blitz, was that of a big, burly, and masculine white wolf. Rippling muscles, a real universe-era Arnold or Conan the Barbarian vibe. When it was Damien's turn to speak, he sat up and rubbed the side of his head, and said, "Well, if I said this was the first time I woke up naked in a dungeon with a bunch of strangers I'd never met, then I'd be lying." And then he chuckled. With absolutely zero warning, Blitz's player growls and declares that he stomps over to Damien and shouts,
"Shut the flip up!"
homophobic slur. He declares an attack roll. I ask if I could have an initiative roll beforehand to attempt to avoid this, and the DM says no. I have no choice but to take the surprise beating for a round. Well, it's a crit, and I'm knocked unconscious almost immediately. I deflated real quick. As that game session progressed on that day, it became clear that I was not getting back up. When introductions were done, an unidentified bounty hunter in Mandalorian-like armor said we were all being summoned to Joho's chamber. When Damien didn't get up, the hunter said that all new initiates had to come along, and if Damien was too lazy to wake up from my nap, then to just drag me. So Blitz did just that. He literally grabbed Damien's tail and drug me to Joho's chamber like a kid with a radio flyer wagon. I'm still unconscious. We meet Joho, who pulls the whole,
"I have a non-specific plan for expanding my empire, wealth, and power. You're all going to help. You help me, I make you rich. I help you get what you want."
a typical broker-style NPC. You get the gist. Joho then says that we all have to agree. That's when Blitz decides to pull a weekend at Bernie's and puppets my unconscious character into agreeing. I wanted to know why I was still out cold, but all the players plus the DM explained that I just was, and I would know when I was awake. Damien was finally woken up at the beginning of Game 2 to be given back starting gear, and to be given the choice of either a weapon upgrade or an armor upgrade. I asked if a bionic implant, similar to a scout trooper's internal HUD display, could be made into an artificial eye for Damien's missing eye instead, to be hidden beneath his patch. Joho agreed, and he was given his new cyber eye, clothing, and weapons back. We're told that we're going to be taking his armored troop transport to an oasis city. There, a rival Hutt had kidnapped the captain of his ship. This ship was biometrically keyed to that pilot. No pilot, no ship. We boarded the transport, and mid-travel, Blitz began to ask what everyone could do in battle. One by one, they said things like, "I'm a great melee combatant," or
"I have the Force."
When it got to Damien's turn, which was evident to me due to the group/DM looking at me, Damien began to speak. "Well, I'm trained in the arts of stealth, subterfuge, and long-distance sniper maneuvers. I'm skilled at infiltration and..."
"I thought I made myself clear."
Homophobic slur.
"No one effing cares. Shut the F up, and if you talk again without me telling you to, you die."
Once again, Blitz's player said that he wanted to surprise attack Damien. Once again, I asked for an initiative prior, even pointing out that the cyberware granted me insight bonuses to not only sense motive, but to initiative rolls. To my surprise, though, the DM denied me a second time, stating that I never stated that I was rolling sense motive prior to the attack. I argued, why would I? And said that everyone was talking and that would have interrupted the game. I was told, too bad, so sad. So Blitz rolls, crits again, and big boots Damien right in the face, knocking him out cold a second time. No one came to his defense. They treated my beating no differently than someone swatting a fly and continued the planning phase. I spent the entire rest of Game 2 unconscious and unable to act. All I could do was idly make snoring noises while the rest of the table played. Damn, who could have predicted it? The only people who can bully furries harder than furry haters is the furries themselves. I mean, I guess that's how it works in the animal kingdom, so it makes sense that it works with animal people too. Although I imagine that the animal kingdom smells better. Anyway, I would say at this point, you start making sense motive rolls every time you encounter literally anything with a pulse. Mandalorian wearing a helmet? Sense motive. Chancellor Palpatine has a newfound love for democracy? Sense motive. Someone's space cat keeps puking on the space carpet? Sense motive. Blitz gets up to take a dump in the middle of the session? Oh, you know that's a sign that motherfucker's secretly a Sith. Sense motive. Believe it or not, but a player being allowed to beat your character so hard that they're removed from the session isn't normal. And if it wasn't obvious the first time that this guy had some kind of beef with you, the second time might as well have been tattooed on your forehead. This goes beyond just bad D&D. This is just a straight-up hostile environment. Fun fact, the DM does have a lot of authority, but literally all of it dries up when the issues translate from in-game to real life. The idea that you just need to sit quietly and just tank abuse from another player like you were doing an impression of Hassan's dog is insane. Why? Because the DM told you so? It's not wrong for you to put a stop to things if you feel like you're being wronged. I would argue that it's not even disruptive, because the vibe was disruptive way before that. Probably around the point when the DM gave the A-OK when one of his players started dealing out slurs to other players like they were Pokemon cards. Sticking up for yourself rarely has as many negative consequences as your mind tells you it does, and nobody has the right to make you feel unwanted, especially in an environment that you were invited to be in. Game 3 rolls around and we get to the Oasis. They find that it is way more fortified than Joho initially thought. Guards at every gate, guards on the wall, guards on the towers, you get the idea. The party begins to lament that this is really bad. The Sith Juggernaut actually says,
Man, it's a real shame nobody here has the ability to take out people from long range without being detected. Boy, we're screwed.
Were they kidding me? I was about to speak up when a different player pointed out my unconscious character.
Hey, he's got a sniper rifle.
Blitz authorizes me to be woken up. Damien wakes up, pissed. He says nothing but glares. Blitz tells Damien that Oasis is just over that dune, and I need to take out the guards. I was gonna do that, or else. I say nothing. This makes him mad, and he demands to know why I'm not talking. He grabs Damien by the throat, hoists him up, and points a vibro knife at his throat.
Why aren't you talking?
Blitz bellows, loud enough to possibly be heard by the very guards we were trying to avoid. One of the other players reminds Blitz that he said that if I spoke out of turn ever again or without permission that he would kill Damien. That's probably why. Yeah, no shit. So Blitz says I can talk. Damien tells him that he does, in fact, have the skills to take out the guards in a manner that he'd never present himself as a target. He could sow chaos and disarray with various techniques, and get everyone inside without a fight. Blitz said to get on it, or Damien would be thrown over the dune as a distraction. And I did it. For the first time, I was able to do something, using a combination of equipment, feats, and a real hot D20. Damien pulled a feat right out of Call of Duty. The other players seemed impressed. Blitz moaned the entire time. He called Damien a coward, saying,
All snipers are cowards.
Yada yada yada. Damien didn't engage because he was working. When the last exterior guard was taken down, Damien said they had a clear path in. The party makes it past the first wall, into the outer sector of Oasis. There was a second guard wall similar to the first, but only a pair of guards in front of that gate. I said my skills would allow me to get past them and gather recon from within. Once in, I could text back the layout and they can go from there while I created a distraction. The party agreed. I asked the DM if this counts as a stressful situation, meaning would a roll be required here or could I take a 20? He said I absolutely could. My score for stealth with a 20 added to it was insane for our level, and it was exceptionally unlikely that I would have been spotted. So Damien begins to slink his way over. As soon as Damien got within 10 feet, the guards immediately round on him.
Hey! What are you doing? Intruder!
The pair pull out stun blasters and attack Damien. I ask once again if I could have rolled sense motive. He said no. Initiative? Nope. The two guards roll, and both are crits. Both are max damage for non-lethal. Damien's KO'd yet again, and the pair drag Damien off. Now the party seemed happy, in and out of character. Blitz even high-fived one of the other players. The DM informs me that due to my repeated negligence, a lack of roleplay, and generally not contributing anything worthwhile to the game, that I was being removed from the game. Damien will be killed off screen, and I'd not be allowed to introduce a new character. I was told to pack up and leave, and to kindly never show up again. I was stunned. I asked to know why. The explanation I was given was that my character was constantly in a state of incapacitation, so therefore I wasn't really doing much. Damien had failed to see the attacks coming, failed to survive them, and with the exception of my initiation and taking out the guards, that I hadn't done a single thing worthwhile. My constant state of unconsciousness drugged down the game. That, and my constant provoking of Blitz, forcing his character to beat me to the point of near brain damage. I was told that I was toxic, and really nobody liked me anyway. Now I look to my friend that invited me in the first place for backup. This absolute trog agreed with them. He said that I just wasn't learning my place, and it was better for me to leave. Didn't have to tell me twice. I left, went home, and not gonna lie, I cried. Yes, I, a grown-ass man, cried, because I had never felt so confused and betrayed in my life. Since that day, I have never gamed with a random group again, and likely never will. TLDR, I get invited to a gaming group for a friend. I roll up my character, and as soon as he's introduced to the party, he is repeatedly beaten unconscious by the party's big bruiser. He's beaten over and over again, told to never speak, even after he flawlessly performs in the one act that he is ever able to perform. The DM uses executive privileges to kill off my character. I'm told literally no one in the group likes me, and that I should have recognized this, and that I had ruined their experience by even showing up. End of story. Wow. If anyone unironically says that you need to learn your place, then you could be damn sure that their place is soaking up juice at the bottom of the dumpster alongside the rest of the garbage. Good luck getting that shit out of the fursuit, jackass. Your friend is either completely spineless, a total snake, or both. Either way, they aren't your friend. The audacity to invite someone to a space only to actively make that space as hostile as possible for that person is a level of that would make me want a cigarette after. I can't wrap my mind around what the motive for this furry recreation of the assassination of Julius Caesar might be. Unless OP is leaving some serious details out, which is always a possibility because this is Reddit, the only motive for this unprovoked furry bullying that my brain can cook up is that this group didn't want a new player. And instead of just telling your friend not to invite you, they came up with this microbe-brained plan to bully you into leaving on your own. And when that didn't work, they just spelled it out for you. Maybe I'm being too harsh on these guys. Maybe they wanted to spare your feelings, so they decided to call you slurs instead. How thoughtful. Regardless, in the end, all we have are two things: our health and our dignity. And putting up with people who purposefully drain either of the two is a great way to be left with nothing. I'm happy to see that you were able to trim the rotting branches off the metaphorical bonsai tree that is your life, OP. And here's hoping that the next game isn't entirely populated by people who exist to make the world worse. The odds are exceptionally low that it will happen again, but you can't always factor in bad luck, you know? But you know what you can't always factor in? Fan art! That's right, how about we take a look at this week's Gallery of the Drake? This week's fan art comes from viewer Atlas Eravos, who depicts the Drake absolutely mogging the hell out of you. Look, Clavicular might have started it, but I didn't need to start taking meth to look this beautiful. This is all natural. The meth was just coincidental.
If I ask you what it is you're doing, will you leave me alone?
I'm testing if my months of bone smashing has been paying off. Are you feeling mogged, Larry?
Isn't bone smashing that thing where delusional incels hit themselves in the face with a hammer because they think it'll make them hot?
Yup. Every day I spend at least 3 hours striking
Drake, you okay there, buddy?
I don't care what the doctors say, the brain bleed is just a side effect of being a look-smacking god.
I'll call an ambulance.
Thank you again, Atlas Eravos, for submitting your art. If you'd like to see your fan art featured in Gallery of the Drake, be sure to send it to the email in my channel bio, or upload it to the official Den of the Drake subreddit linked in the description. Fan art is my favorite part of doing YouTube, and it means the world to me that I can inspire artists like you to create artwork like this. With the story over and artwork displayed, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and send in your fan art. And if you feel like supporting the channel further, my Patreon, merchandise, and GamerSupps affiliate links are in the description. I would like to thank you all for listening, and I hope to see you next time in the Den of the Drake. Yeah, I totally benched 315 for the first time. Oh, no way, bro! Are those gigabards? I might be a total alpha male, but I'm nothing compared to Bro Tater Tot, Cam the Badger, Drakor, Flashiskit, Gobshite, Karam Archivals, Kiristor, Matthew Mulquini, Muramoto, Naridel Bell, Pilkman, Soul Taker 666212, Till Dings da Bums, and Ziggy Diggy D00. Man, Drake's patrons totally mog everything they see. Oh, they suck the testosterone right out of me, brah. Now I gotta go home and talk about my feelings or something. Hey, if you're still here, YouTube thinks you would like this video and isn't clicking on every link put in front of you the real meaning of life. Please.